And this was heavy, man. This is heavy. Let's go into the next topic, man. I want to talk about toxic masculinity in men and in women. Um, what creates toxic masculinity in men?
Same stuff, same principles. Um, uh, who we are, the definitions of Black manhood haven't always been ours. And so when it becomes ours, sometimes we don't do the work in redefining. We just take what they gave us and we run with it. Trauma would do that. And you hear stuff just because somebody before them said it. Men aren't supposed to blank. Men aren't supposed to blank. Who said that? And and why is it that every man has to be just as strong or as stubbornly resistant to crying as you? Man, if something hurts, and
I like how you put that, stubbornly. Y'all heard that? Yeah, get your thesaurus out, Hope. My man said stubbornly resistant. Man, get Bro Shaq on the phone. Stubbornly resistant to crime. You got to come to the Rise of the King group chat to know how to get out like that. That's shadow work. Listen, bitch.
You going, TJ?
Nah, man, we something hurts us. Our best friend gets shot. My mama has cancer. I lost my job. My girl left me for another nigga, and he uglier than me. Like stuff stuff pisses you off, and we're made. We tell ourselves that instead of pain, we have to react. Sometimes even violently. Like I was watching a Vlad TV interview last week, and like they were just some things. I just being a part of, I guess, a different growing up scheme. I understand how they feel, but they were talking about how if somebody came up and rolled up and shot your mother and you knew who it was, you still wouldn't. You would, instead of seeking justice,
snitch.
Instead of seeking justice legally, you will seek justice in your own hands. And I understand it. I know, yo. Well, see, I mean, I tell you what. I'm not. I understand. Look, I understand it. I really do.
Go with what you were saying.
I understand it, but then it's like, but what I feel like that type of reaction to it is pride. That's toxic, and it is something that's been prescribed to us. You respond to violence with more violence. That's savage. That's what Black men are. I feel like that's something that we're supposed to do. That's kind of my but I understand it. You don't want to get the some dudes feel like you don't want to get the pigs involved because they ain't gonna handle it the way they need to be handled anyway. I understand it, but also I feel like reacting that way was prescribed to us. I feel like we're capable of being better. We don't if we ever get through Black on Black violence. I mean, here's the thing. In our communities, we're going to kill one another the most if we're killing people in the first place because we're around one another. We're not around white people. Why would we kill white people? Because they're not here. But anyway, and so like
this real quick.
Anyway, that's all, man. The way masculinity has been prescribed to us in every corner of reacting to anything. And so some constructs, the way that they are now, like I said, I understand it, but there's a reason for it. And, if we can ever improve upon that one day, it'd be best that we do it. But that's just me.
So check this. This is what I think he's getting at too, Nico, is not every man is built like that to take it to that level. And not every man has the resources to take it to that level. So if we are having this whole talk about manhood and something is done to your family, you're made to feel like you're less of a man because you didn't handle it the way that other men would have, where not every man is really built like that. And even if you're not built like that, not every man got a cousin or a homeboy that could go handle it that way. That's the way I look at it when I see it, like where it's like, we need to be able to be like, okay, this happened to this man. He didn't go seek vengeance himself because that may not have been the kind of pedigree or cloth that he's cut from, but the way he still handled it was very manly.
I'll just say this, and I'm gonna leave it at that, because I understand that talk when the niggas be talking that talk. If you pay attention to what these young men are saying in these interviews, they are telling you exactly what's up. You just gotta understand the Diddy bop. I'm gonna just leave it at that because I know the interview y'all talk about, and if you, I'm gonna leave that alone. But as far as toxic masculinity goes, I feel like when was I gotta go back to when I was first brushed with it, and it was around the time that it was like high school, and you start to get around peer pressure. You know what I mean? Where young men are having these Simba moments, doing shit they ain't got no business. You know how we are. We having our Simba moments. We rebellious. We going into the elephant graveyard. We doing all kind of wild shit. And you constantly trying to prove yourself. It's something in you already. It's something driving you to constantly feel like you want to measure up to your peers because you're trying to establish who's the alpha. That's in your nature. Like, that's not something to run away from. That is exactly what's going on. You reach puberty, your freaking instincts kick in, and you start wanting to beat your chest about what you're about, how it is. But the toxic part comes in on how society has conditioned us in terms of the way we understand sex and the way we understand things of that nature. We've taken the woman's body and turned it into like a product, you know, an object, to where it's all about, like, you get brushed into masculinity being told by people you idolize that the whole world is about getting money, fuck bitches, and as long as you can have stories about how many women you fuck, you a man. So but you're getting kudos from who you want your peers to be. So in your mind, you the man. And that whole time, you traumatizing a woman over and over and over and over again. And then you start meeting women just like the ones you traumatized, and you start thinking women are crazy. No, they just met enough people like you that where they already know you and they're already mad. You know what I mean? So, you know what I mean? So toxic masculinity is rooted in our inability to control ourselves sexually. Like, it's really weird. Like, a lot of it is just overused testosterone that's just used. Hey, we really understood the way women are placed. There's a reason why the dude that made the Marvel shit, when he did Black Man's Nightmare, not Black Man's Nightmare, when he did Black Panther, pardon me, I've been doing poems all night. When he did Black Panther, the women were the warriors. You know, it was like a lady, she was almost like the general, and she had the bald head. You know what I mean? I got Queen Amina like stuff on me now. Like that was a representation of a time where women were really viewed by not only it was like they were reviewed by their humanity. Or when you understand and respect a person's influence, then you understand their human side. You can't choke a Black man to death if you really respected his influence. He had children that he had to influence. You know, when we mourn a person, we mourn their influence. You know what I mean? Like, and we remember them because we go back and try to dig out their influence from our thoughts. But toxic masculinity literally comes from our inability to control our penis. And in our own community, Black community-wise, is because fathers, bruh, I'm going to say this. As soon as you find out you have a child, it don't matter who you have been prior to, that is like a baptism. Like, as soon as you have a child, you literally can turn yourself into a superhero. Like, my son doesn't need, like, I appreciate Black Panther the movie, but my son doesn't need a superhero because once he, inherits, the things that his father has worked hard for him for, you know what I mean? Like, I've created a something for him to see and be proud of, so we don't focus on manhood by the positive things we can pass down, because we don't even view sex from a procreation standpoint. You know what I mean? We view it by smashing. Like, sex is how we cope with depression. Like, we don't even know if you could run out of sperm. Like, what if that was the rule? What if you only had 50 humps? We'll be out here killing ourselves because we would hump ourselves out of sperm.
Guess what?
We would deplete the bank real early. I feel you, Dom. I feel you on that, but I also think it's a little more than that, because with toxic masculinity, I'm looking at that. There is a level of emotional immaturity that's being displayed in this toxic masculinity, right? It's when you're not getting the response that you want from a person, whether it's a man or a woman. You're not getting a response, and then there's almost that temper tantrum that you're throwing, or digging deep into this need more to control something to try to get your actual outcome. So, I mean, can y'all talk about?
Oh, you mean that side part too? Yeah, shit.
The word I have for it is peacocking.
Yeah. Okay, so that's the pride shit, and that, to me, that goes back to me. I guess I intertwine peer pressure into that, because most, like, you know how many murders happen because somebody felt played, just off feeling played, like off that alone. Like, so it's like, so that is a level of emotional immaturity. And I think when people hear the word immaturity, when we don't understand, that's why it's important to pay attention in school, kids. When you don't understand vocabulary words, you will become offended just because you don't understand the second or third meaning of the words you hear. You hear immature, and you think I'm saying you're a little boy. What I'm saying is, compared to a disabled veteran retired from the United States with 2 years of, like, mental health treatment and 3 inpatient stays, you are not as developed when it comes to dealing with actual trauma as I might be, because I've had to deal with the shit. So there are certain things that I might see, I may not respond in a derogatory way, because I've matured enough. The maturity is like the way you grasp and retain and apply the wisdom you gain, the positive wisdom. So you're immature, you haven't matured yet. At least there's a hope in that. When I say you're immature, I'm not saying you're doomed. Yeah. I'm saying you could learn a little more.
Because that's the last thing we want to hear, especially as a man, as a black man. Like, I'm immature. Like, look, I don't even know what you're talking about, but the way you coming, the way them words sound.
Me and Tony be having conversations all the time, talking about, damn, man, you remember in 2011? Yeah, bro. Like, it's whatever. You're trying to figure out. We have to, look, our fathers didn't do it for us. We have to try to figure out other ways to compute trauma, because the other ways before us are fucked up.
Yeah. And you know what it comes down to, bro? What it comes down to, man, we was basically in the jungle. So we just went in there head first, didn't know, made every mistake. But the difference between us and our ancestors is we learned the tools, right? Key word, tools. Right. We learned the tools to deal with so that we're not repeating those same mistakes. We probably still make mistakes to this day, but we actively work on tools. Like, I'll call Dom and be like, bro, like, I'm kind of in the middle of, like, ready to snap the fuck off on somebody. He like, bro, remember, you got this to live for and this to live for. Handle it this way. So then there's like a tool that he's given me of, like, okay, boom, this is the way that I can handle, that I can counteract this what would have been an immature response, now a tool. So people don't need to feel negative or bad because you may handle situations in a bad way, or you may handle it immaturely. Understand, you don't have the tools, but you do have to seek the tools. You have to seek the tools for coping.